Hello, credit union community. Here are your 3 topics for today. First up, we're tackling the challenge of rising operational costs. How can your credit union stay strong and resilient? Next, we're uncovering the strategies to create a sales-centric culture that not only boosts results, but also elevates the member experience. And finally, we'll dive into the big question, is it worth investing in employee development if they might leave anyway? Welcome to Grow Your Credit Union. This is the podcast where credit union leaders gather, learn, and grow. I'm your host, Joshua Barkley. With me today is my co-host. She's basically the Dallas Cowboys of the credit union movement. She's the talk of Texas. I'm talking about Becky Reed. Becky, say hello to our lovely audience.
Howdy, y'all.
Before we begin today's show, I want to first mention our sponsor, Strum Platform. They help credit unions accelerate deposit, loan, and relationship growth with smarter marketing analytics. We'll talk more about Strum Platform later on in the show. Becky, I just drove cross country. I have been gone since July 30th. I returned home with my girlfriend yesterday. I drove from Utah to Connecticut. And on the way back, I got to tell you, Becky, I had a mental break. I hit Nebraska. I started losing my mind. And what's funny is I didn't know that you actually led a credit union in Nebraska.
I sure did. I was in the western part of Nebraska where nobody lives, but I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of Nebraska. So the middle of Nebraska is a lot like Kansas, right? It's just flat and just fields and fields and fields. But did you drive straight from east to west all the way through?
Yeah.
You know what? It's kind of like a West Texas drive. Driving from Dallas to Lubbock is a similar experience.
I don't recommend it, folks. Nebraska, if you're listening, you need to do something about your scenery. You need to change it up a little bit because nothing changed. Let's introduce today's guest. Stepping to the mic is the president and CEO of University Credit Union, David Tuyo. David, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
According to the Credit Union Trends report produced by TrueStage, credit union operating expenses increased by nearly 6% over the past year, outpacing the 4.2% growth in assets. David, with operational costs climbing higher, you've taken a bold approach by empowering your teams to seek out inefficiencies and build smarter systems and processes. You've shifted the focus from not just managing costs, but to proactively solving the root issues. Can you share how you're guiding your teams to tackle these challenges head on and drive meaningful improvements across the board?
At a high level, right, we launched a program called Automate and Elevate. What that allowed our team to do is really focus in on leveraging AI and robotic process automation to automate the things they do the same thing every day, each and every day, and ultimately elevate their role, either with the member in their conversations or with their role within impact to the credit union and our communities that we serve. And so it's been a pretty good process. And then through that, they expanded into with the current Olympics. We have an Olympics program now. We always have a theme every quarter to kind of make it interesting and more fun and again, refocus. So it's not always just the same stale initiatives over and over again. And so just briefly, I'll be with regards to Olympics, we have a break up the entire organization in different teams. And so we all are playing for our own country, if you would, and they all have names and they're very creative and it's a lot of fun. And we have daily chats going on across the organization and Microsoft Teams. And then from that, one of the things that the teams are rewarded on are based on process improvements. And so in the first month alone, even though we've been doing this for over 4 years now, we still had an additional 75 submissions for process improvements across our organization.
That's incredible. You've kind of given your teams the autonomy to look for this stuff. So how does that work? Does the team lead come to you, or have you literally given everyone across the board, no matter what their role is or hierarchy, have you given them that autonomy to come to you and say, hey, this process isn't working. This is what I propose we do to fix it?
Yeah, so we leverage culturally. I think it's a cultural move that you have to build into your organization. It can't just be an initiative. It can't just be a project. because you only get short-term results. And so if you really want to have a long-term sustainable function around this kind of initiative, what's going to be continuous improvement and operational excellence in perpetuity, then in that case, you want to make sure you build in your culture. For us, we talk about things in team. We talk about things with players and coaches. And so when you're a player on the team, you want to make sure you're always investing in yourself, trying to find ways to become better. If you're a coach, you want to make your players better, right? And as far as a team goes, right, if you're a general manager or an owner of that particular team, you want to make sure that you have the best players in the field and you're continually trying to win championships. And so for us, we take that culture and we apply it to these types of initiatives. And we want to make sure that the voice of the member is how we trade it. So it's a blended metric that we use. It's very unique to University Credit Union. It comes across as our relational NPS, new member NPS, new product NPS, and also our AI accuracy scores, in addition to a couple other different scores that we leverage. We take a blended score there, and then that's our KPI, our focus around how we define success. But again, it goes back into the culture, it goes back into our player coach mentality, it goes back into our team basis about how we all win and learn as a team.
Becky, operational efficiency. Talk to me about your approach to the steady improvement of processes and systems as a leader.
Well, we also utilize technology, and what David is talking about is some process automation. And what is interesting is technology, it continues to accelerate year over year over year. And back when I was implementing emerging technology in my credit union, that was almost 10 years ago. And so some of the things that he's using now, including AI, just were not a thing back then, at least not just for everyday use like it's available now. But what we did, there was a couple things that we did. And David mentioned some things about making sure that the culture of the credit union kind of fit that sort of mentality. And it sounds like his credit union has really taken a approach of implementing that throughout the whole organization. I mean, from what they call each other, the player coach scenario, because that gives you an idea of what it means to work there. What is the culture like? And for us, we focused on ROA. Now, that is a really interesting thing to focus on as a goal for the credit union, because you have to try to explain ROA to a frontline employee, which sometimes can be challenging, right? But at the end of the day, ROA is everything. It's your measure of profitability, and anything, whether it's making more money or saving money, becoming more efficient, it rolls up eventually into ROA. And so we brought ROA down to the branch level. Each branch was responsible for their ROA. So they were their own company. The branch manager was the CEO of their own branch, and the branch employees were responsible for ultimately the profitability of their branch. And we gained a lot of efficiencies from utilizing technology. And one of those things that we did is we moved everything into the cloud, right? So we took all of our servers, we took all of our desktops, and we moved them into the cloud. And that allowed Lone Star Credit Union to achieve economies of scale without having to double or triple our asset size. And so there are definitely ways that you can utilize technology to streamline processes, and focusing your employees on that specific goal and talking about it every day, which it sounds like David and his team do, is very important.
David, I want to talk about incentives. Okay. So let's say I'm one of your employees. We just won the Olympics. I don't know what state I'm repping. Nebraska, right? After I badmouth Nebraska. Let's say I'm repping Nebraska in this Olympics, right? My team wins. How are you incentivizing us? What do I get? What is the incentive for me as an employee to drive those increases in efficiency? How are you incentivizing that?
So first off, we have three uniques that make up our value proposition. One is we were founded by the university community for the university community. We still exist for them and serve them exclusively. Our second one is that we guarantee our rates are in the top 5% in the country. Number three is that we give conflict-free, unbiased advice from certified financial experts. And that's the big one. And so the reason why I start with that to answer your question is because in order to be conflict-free and unbiased, you have to make sure that you design incentive and variable pay for performance programs to make sure that you don't build inherent conflicts between the employees' activities, which they're incented for, and then also ultimately outcomes for the member owner. We've seen countless times throughout history, whether it's the banks or even other organizations where these corrupt incentive programs lead to bad actors and it leads to really bad outcomes for our member owners. And as financial cooperative, it's the last thing we want to have happen. And so we break things up in team-based compensation. We use a point system, and points are awarded based on different activities. Those points are then aggregated by team and shared amongst the team as far as compensation goes. And then based on how the overall team does as an organization, then the winning team gets 2 added bonuses based on 2 different metrics that we're trying to focus on for that particular quarter or that 2-month period. And so we really work through these things that we call 13-week sprints. We focus in on that. It's who we are. And so again, it's a different approach. I'm not saying that there's the only approach. My first job was a financial advisor. I was 100% commission. It worked out really well for our family. It worked out well for my clients. Had one of the fastest growing offices in the entire country. But at the same time, when you're managing a large organization, I think that you have to be careful and very intentional. At some organizations, I would take a different approach. As we serve higher ed and the university community, this makes a lot of sense for who we serve and how we serve and how they receive that service and our overall approach to it. So for us, this has been extremely successful, and we continue to make changes all the time based on our team's feedback and what we're seeing in production, what we're seeing as far as organizational goes. But it is something that's as an evolution that we continue to keep up. And again, the workforce changes. And so what they value in the past is different than what they value in the future. And so you have to keep updating these programs on at least an annual basis. For us, it's every quarter. And we want to make sure that we stay relevant for our employees.
I don't want to ruffle any feathers among credit union leaders, but I'm about to drop some words that might make you cringe. They're dirty words. You might want to cover your ears. Ready? Sales, cross-selling, sales quotas. Yes, it's true. We're all about serving our members and upholding our nonprofit status, but let's get real, folks. We still need to generate revenue. Here's the twist, though. Building a sales-oriented culture doesn't have to feel like you're selling out. In fact, it can be done in a way that stays true to the credit union mission of people helping people. David, you've successfully built a sales-centric culture using a strategy known as the 3 A's. Can you walk us through what the 3 A's strategy is and how you've used it to drive sales and growth while keeping your members' best interests at heart?
So first of all, I think we step back for sales, right? So that's an important piece. Many people view it as something you do 2 people versus 4 people. And meeting with one of my friends many years ago, and he's still in the industry today. He's a consultant, does great work with different organizations. And we're talking about, trying to define sales. And he was at the time working with his group, and he was trying to define sales. And as they're sitting at the airport having a conversation, they literally said, what is sales? How do we explain this to new team members that just joined an organization, maybe they're entry level, maybe it's their first job? They have different perspectives and viewpoints of what sales could be. And they came up with this really simple definition that I still use today. I stole it from him and I repeat it everywhere because I think it's really good. And he said, sales is nothing more than the transfer of enthusiasm. And I think it's a powerful definition. When you think about it, if we're not enthusiastic about what we do, how we do it, why we do it, then sales is no longer a bad word, right? We need to find out why. If we're not enthusiastic about our products and services and our solutions to our members' needs, wants, and desires, and let's figure out why that is, and let's change that. And same way with the approach to our job, the approach to our business, the approach to our day, the approach to life even. And so I think those are things that when you reset and you define what sales is and you take out the assumptions that could be out there based on people's life experiences, all of a sudden you put everybody on the same page and we all come to this great conclusion that, who doesn't want to work with somebody enthusiastic? I mean, have you ever been anywhere and had somebody be really enthusiastic about what they do and why they do it? I mean, it's infectious, right? I mean, you're like, wow. I mean, sometimes a little overwhelming, but most times it's infectious and you want to enjoy it. It's fantastic. And so that leads us to our 3 A's. Our 3 A's are it's a strategic kind of approach to how we look at the business. And that really is about building acumen, making sure that we have efficient resource allocation, and ultimately taking action, right? So those are our 3 A's at our organization that we try to focus in on. And it's proven to be very successful for us.
Becky, if I'm working under your leadership at Lone Star, is sales a dirty word? Am I allowed to say that word? What was your philosophy around that? Because I wouldn't want to upset you, obviously. So what are we calling that word? How are we thinking about it?
No, it absolutely was sales. And we had a program that we went through, and I'll give them a shout out. It was called Integrity Solutions. And it was about needs-based selling and behavioral-based selling. And what that means is understanding the person who's across from you and understanding what's important to them, because we all have different behavior styles. There are 4. They originally were named by Hippocrates. So the Greek philosopher who kind of was the foundational founder of Western medicine. And so Hippocrates came up with the 4 behavior styles. And then, of course, Myers-Briggs and Jung and so on have come up with some different iterations of that with extroversion and introversion. But understanding what it is people really need from a communication perspective when you are presenting a opportunity for them, I think was important. And we actually had our entire organization go through the program because we felt like regardless of your position in the credit union, you were supporting the member. It didn't matter. You could be working in accounting. You could be working in IT. You could be a member service representative, whatever the case may be. Ultimately, you were there to serve the members, even if it meant you were supporting someone who was serving the member on the front line. And understanding how to communicate with each other was super important. So yes, we absolutely had sales. We had a mantra at the credit union that said that we are not order takers. We are solution providers. And we asked all of our employees to be the doctor, because what ends up happening is a lot of times when a member walks in, what they're asking you for is something in their head that they've already determined they need, whatever it is. And sometimes it isn't what they need. They need something different, or they don't understand how something is working. And we do. We understand. We work in this institution every single day. We understand what actually happens behind the scenes. And so it's really important to use that knowledge to prescribe the best solution to that member. So we didn't shy away from sales.
I think something else to echo, kind of continuing Becky's point, great point across the board. But, if I was going to go build a house, I wouldn't go to a cocktail party and listen to somebody tell me how to build a house. If I was going to build a house, I wouldn't also walk down to Home Depot and grab some bricks and start building it myself. I wouldn't even watch a YouTube on how to build a house, because it's just so important to make sure you get the foundation right, and you want to make sure you're going to be able to live in it and so on and so forth. And yet that's how people approach some issues around their personal finance. And so we try to make sure that we invest in our employees. We're an employee-first organization that we focus on member centricity, so employees first, but the members at the center of everything we do. And what that means is that 95.5% of my staff today are certified in financial counseling or financial planning. And so we want to make sure that when we give advice, it can be trusted and reliable. And we do that through our certification processes. It's not our certification, it's a national certification process, whether it's with America's Credit Unions and the 5-step program from the Certified Financial Counselor program, whether it's a certified financial planner or other designations, CFAs, so on and so forth. We have all of them across the board in our organization. But I think that you make sure that we're the professionals. This is where we're going to come to. Our members want our advice. And once our team understands and look at themselves in that manner, so to take a play off of the University Credit Union, right? We're the professors of finance, of personal finance for our member owners. And so they're going to be teaching them about their personal financial lives, helping create awareness around things that are positive, awareness around things that are negative, and then prescribing and predicting what the members' needs are going to be in the future, setting goals and a pathway to be successful. And so when we talk about financial well-being for all, that means different things for different people. But our organization, we want to get our members that at some time at retirement, before retirement, they can become truly financially independent. And our team members are certified and educated in a way that they can provide sound and expert financial advice for our member owners across the United States.
David, and I think you mentioned a good thing here, the transfer of enthusiasm, because maybe credit union folks don't have a problem necessarily with sales. It's the connotation behind the word sales. It's the sleazy car salesman pushing products that somebody doesn't want. So when you frame it like sales is the transfer of enthusiasm, now it just changes the whole lens with which I look at that. Because now you're talking about being a professor and helping me, almost like an advisor, rather than someone who's trying to sell me a 2024 Porsche. Right? Like that's kind of the idea here is it's the enthusiasm, it's the advisory role. It's not pushing products that no one asked for.
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, I think if you go to a Porsche dealership, to further your analogy, they're going to try to sell Porsche. Why? Because that's their product. That's what they have. If you go to buy a Dyson vacuum, they're going to sell you a Dyson. Why? Because that's their product. You walk into an Apple store, they're not going to try to sell you a Google phone. They're going to try to sell you an Apple phone because it's their product. Our product at a very high level is money. And so we can apply those solutions to anybody's needs, and we don't have to focus in on product. We can focus on their actual needs, their goals and desires, and then we can fulfill that, whether it's through a variety of different avenues to help them be successful in their journey and reach their financial goals.
Strum Platform is a cutting-edge customer data solution designed to empower credit unions with the tools they need to thrive in a competitive digital landscape. Strum Platform specializes in hyper-targeted marketing through advanced automation capabilities, ensuring every member interaction is tailored to enhance engagement and drive growth. The platform integrates seamlessly with existing systems, streamlining workflows and maximizing efficiency across marketing campaigns. From targeted messaging to comprehensive analytics, Strum Platform enables credit unions to optimize their marketing strategies and deliver impactful results. Statewide Federal Credit Union used Strum Platform to attract more than $12 million in new deposits in less than a year. Their platform allowed Statewide Federal Credit Union to profile the lifestyles of their members and create precise marketing segments. Ready to connect with members with the right message at the right time? Discover the power of Strum Platform by contacting Strum to schedule a demo and see firsthand how they can revolutionize your marketing approach at strumplatform.com. That's STRUM platform.com. Spending the time and money to develop talent inside your credit union sounds like a great idea. And for the record, it is. However, many credit unions shy away from fully developing their talent because they fear that once they do, their best people are just going to leave anyways. But you've taken a different approach, David, and I commend you for it. You not only invest heavily in your employees, but you embrace the idea that some of them might move on and leave your credit union. Can you explain your philosophy behind this and how it's impacted your credit union's culture and success?
When you look at our organization, we have people that have just started a course and joined their careers, and then those that have been with us for over 42 years. But when you look at the average tenure, even during the pandemic, let's say, that got down to 6 to 18 months, depending on what industry you were in. And so thinking that people are coming with you and stay with you for their entire careers is somewhat myopic, in my opinion. I changed jobs. I know it's a shocker. I didn't start at University Credit Union, and this is my 6th financial institution that I've had in my career over 25 years. And it's been a fantastic journey. I got to learn from different areas and different places, but just like I needed to leave to work on my own career and my upward mobility that I had set for myself, my employees are going to do the same. And so we invest heavily in them to try to increase their market value, their street value, both internally and market value and value to our member owners. But then also, if there's a promotional opportunity for them and we haven't grown into a place where there's an opening for them yet, I'm not going to shun away from trying to help them get a position somewhere else. If that's their goals, then that's the case. And we have plenty of employees that have left to take promotions other places, and then they came back to take promotions with us. And we find that they treat our organization better, they treat our members better, they treat each other better. And even for those that have left us, they're still always part of the University Credit Union family. Our team is very close. We're a small organization, $1.2 billion in assets. And so we have to be tight knit. And so our team is very personal. They know each other at a very intimate level. And that doesn't stop just because you stop working there. And so we really have created a community, a sense of belonging in our organization, because we don't stop at just the thought process, well, let's just train the member service specialist to be a member service specialist. We train them to be a branch manager. We train them to be a specialist in a particular area that they're convicted or passionate about. So if it's risk or it's fraud or it's compliance, we want to make sure that we feed their passions and making sure that they're always continuous development. And we structure that from a framework perspective. Now, it's a shocker. University-based credit union has frameworks and rubrics and other things that we do. It's very academic. But with that being said, it's been very successful. And so everybody in our organization has a personal development goal. There's 3 of them on top of their KPIs, on top of everything else that we do. This is just for them. This is something where, you could call it selfish. But I mean, also the organization does benefit from this. But, they have to have a strategic, and again, all levels, strategic. They have to have something around leadership, and they have something around technical skills that they need to develop as well. And everybody has that. I have it. Everybody in our organization has it. And so it's something that we celebrate and we track, and always trying to make sure that we have the best of the best, right? The old Top Gun analogy, the top 1% of the top 1%, the elite of the elite. And we want to make sure, again, that our member owners are getting the best possible advice and service. And you can only do that by having a very robust training process, a very robust education process, and ultimately metrics that are going to measure, monitor, and celebrate your success across the organization.
Becky, I feel like I know your answer to this, but I'm working at your credit union. I'm the hotshot, talented guy. I'm probably going to leave and go to Chase Bank in like 2 years.
Or Nebraska.
Or Nebraska, or whatever credit union out there is the biggest one in Nebraska, whoever you are. I'm going to leave. Are you still investing to develop guys like myself who are, you can't bank on me being around for the long term, but am I still going to get your attention with development and et cetera?
Yes. And the reason why is because if I don't grow you, so you hear a lot of people say, well, why should I teach them everything I know? I'll be out of a job then, right? They'll just replace me and I won't have a job anymore. So there's a lot of people who feel like their job security is in knowing something that other people don't know, or being able to do something, a skill. So they hold on to that very tight, because I can't show anybody else that. I can't teach anybody else that, because that's my thing. That's my job security. Well, I can't grow if others don't grow. So all of us, David talked about it. We all want to learn and grow, and it doesn't matter what place you are in the organization. And yes, the CEO still wants to learn and grow. We don't just get to the CEO spot so that we can just put our feet up on the desk and go to sleep for 10 years. That is absolutely not what we do. So it is our job to make sure that others grow. And you know what, Josh? If you're going to leave and go to Chase in the next 2 years, more power to you. If you grow enough at my organization to go and benefit another organization, great. Again, like David talked about, maybe you'll come back and you'll benefit us from what you learned there. I think it really comes down to being unselfish about the opportunity to help other people, which, by the way, is the credit union mantra: people helping people.
Yeah, I think one of my great friends, and she's now the president of Credit Union Solutions at Scimitar, she always said that, my goal is to work myself out of my job. And to Becky's point about people hanging on to things, again, culturally, you need to make sure you break free of that. But when we launched our Automate and Elevate campaign a number of years ago, that was one of the biggest concerns. Why should I automate this and I'll just be out of a job? And I think the entire team now can recognize, the value in that, and how they're enjoying their roles even more. Our engagement levels have never been higher, and mainly because, people don't want to sit there and just hit a space bar all day long. They want to use their beautiful, amazing minds to do good work. And so we're seeing that across our organization.
I also want to say that personally, if I was working under you, David, and you told me, hey, I'm going to invest in you heavily, despite the fact that I know you might leave, it's probably going to make me not want to leave. If I'm being honest with you, it's just going to breed loyalty, because even if somebody offers me better pay, culturally speaking, I might say to myself, Chase, their Nebraskan headquarters is trying to hire me and they want to pay me X amount of dollars more. Culturally speaking, I might be like, you know what? They're going to pay me more, but David is just a solid dude who's believed in me from day one, and I don't want to leave now.
But it can't just be speak either. It can't be empty, flowery promises. It needs to be something that's genuine and something you're going to execute on. And the team's going to recognize that it's hollow if you're not. It's something that our entire organization does. I mentor students that are seniors or in graduate school from our university partners. And we stay in touch over years and trying to help them in their careers. Nothing to do with University Credit Union. It's just who we are, right? It's how we're built. It's the right thing to do. And to Becky's point, the thing that we're all attracted to in our industry is it's always about people helping people. And that doesn't just stop 9 to 5, right? That's something that becomes part of who you are.
That brings us to the end of the show. David, give us some final thoughts for the listeners out there.
I think when you look at your organization, no matter where you sit in the organization, there's always ways to make an impact. And it is a growth game. And there'll be a time in the future when that's not going to be the case. We're forecasting global population flattening at 2050. We continue to see trends across the globe, both developed and undeveloped countries, things that were normally thought to be just in developed countries now are being seen across undeveloped countries as well. And so those business models are going to change 20 years down the road, and we need to prepare our organizations for that. But right now, growth is the name of the game. When we're looking at margin-based businesses, when we look at trying to make sure that we reduce the fees to our member owners as a financial cooperative, you have to grow your assets, you have to grow your margins. And the best way to do that is to focus in on controlling the things that you can. And of course, that is always investing in yourself, finding out things that are going on in the organization, anticipate what others in your organization's needs are going to be, and help fulfill them. You'll find yourself to be a tremendous rock star in the organization, an all-star like none other. And also you'll find out that it's contagious. You'll find to see others start following your lead. And then all of a sudden you have this amazing organization that's outperforming in your key metrics that you define as being successful. And you're going to be enjoying growth, because at the end of the day, the markets are an unsympathetic judge of success.
And David, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, they're listening right now and they're like, this David guy, smartest guy I've ever heard in my life, I want to get a hold of him. How can they reach you?
Yeah, the best way to reach me, of course, is on our website, on our very homepage. I'm very transparent to our member owners. If you want to reach me, just contact the CEO right there at ucu.org. ucu.org is the best way to reach me, but also you can always reach me via email as well. And so our email is simply just first initial last name, gtuyo@ucu.org. Love to do that. But then also probably the easiest way that most people are going to do a couple clicks on their phone, LinkedIn. So I encourage everybody to reach out on LinkedIn. Please connect with me. Love to get to know more about you. Drop me a message and we can find more time offline.
Thank you, David. Becky, give me your final thoughts, please.
Well, you talked about growth. David just talked about growth. And coincidentally, this podcast is called Grow Your Credit Union. But I think growth can mean a lot of different things. It certainly can mean personal growth. It can mean professional growth. Absolutely. Credit unions need to grow, which again can be growth in assets. It can be growth in deposits, loans, revenue, whatever that might be. And we do have to adapt. I think that what I would just leave the listeners with today is don't ever stop learning.
Becky, I know the answer to this, but I got to ask you, how can people get a hold of you?
Oh my gosh, LinkedIn is going to be the best place. And you know what? I have gotten so many opportunities from LinkedIn. I cannot tell you, I can't even count how many opportunities that I've gotten through LinkedIn. The people that I've been able to meet, it's just really broadened my horizons and expanded my opportunities. It's been a great platform.
Awesome. Okay, I want to thank our guest today, David. Thank you. Becky, of course, thank you. And I want to thank our sponsor, Strum Platform. And a special thanks to you, our listeners, for continuing to support and listen to another episode of Grow Your Credit Union. Remember, if you're digging the show, please follow us on your podcast player of choice and share an episode with someone who would benefit from listening. If you want to be a guest or would like to talk about sponsorship opportunities, head to growyourcreditunion.com to learn more. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. Take care, and bye-bye.